If you grew up in the golden age of pop music, this video might hit you harder than you expect. One of the stars in this video recorded a final message just days before his death that's never been fully explained. And some believe it was a cry for help that the world missed. At the top of your head, can you guess who we are talking about? Stick around till the end of the video to find out if you're correct. The first on our list today is Ricky Nelson. He was the face that lit up every black and white TV screen in the late 50s and early 60s. A charming, clean-cut teen idol with a voice that made hearts melt. Ricky Nelson, both famous and beloved. From starring in his family's hit TV series The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet to landing 53 songs on the Billboard Hot 100, he made an indelible mark on pop culture before most people even graduated college. But fame, as we know, doesn't protect anyone from unfortunate circumstances. On New Year's Eve of 1985, Ricky boarded a small aircraft with his band, heading to a gig in Dallas, Texas. It was supposed to be just another show, a comeback of sorts. Instead, tragedy struck midair. The plane crashed in DeKalb, Texas, killing Ricky, his fiancée, and 5 members of his band. He was just 45. Authorities later ruled out rumors of drug use or foul play, suggesting instead that a malfunction in the cabin heater may have triggered a fire mid-flight. A cruel twist of fate for someone who spent his life in front of cameras and crowds. Do you remember the first Ricky Nelson song you ever heard? Or maybe your parents played it while reminiscing about the golden days of rock and roll. Let us know. Karen Carpenter. As one half of the Carpenters, she delivered timeless ballads like Close to You and We've Only Just Begun, songs that became the emotional soundtrack of the 70s for millions. But behind that angelic voice and warm smile was a silent struggle that few could see, and even fewer understood. Karen battled anorexia nervosa at a time when eating disorders were rarely discussed, let alone diagnosed. In an industry obsessed with image, her condition was often brushed aside, misunderstood, or even ignored. Over the years, her weight plummeted, and her health deteriorated, yet she kept performing, smiling, and showing up for fans. On February 4, 1983, the world was shocked to learn that Karen had collapsed at her parents' home in California. She suffered cardiac arrest brought on by complications from years of malnutrition. She was only 32. Her death became a tragic wake-up call, a turning point that finally forced conversations around eating disorders into the spotlight. Do you remember hearing Rainy Days and Mondays after she passed? Didn't it just hit different knowing what she was going through behind the scenes? Andy Gibb. He was the younger brother of the Bee Gees and was also a star in his own right. His hits like Shadow Dancing and I Just Want to Be Your Everything made him a teen sensation in the late 70s, with screaming fans and platinum records to prove it. But fame came fast, and it came heavy. Behind the glitter and magazine covers was a young man struggling deeply with depression and addiction. Andy's battles with cocaine and alcohol spiraled out of control just as quickly as his career had taken off. His relationships suffered. His mental health crumbled. Even his work, once so effortless, became nearly impossible to keep up with. By the mid-80s, Andy was trying to reclaim his life. He entered rehab, made public appearances, and told the world he was ready for a fresh start. And for a brief moment, it seemed like things might turn around. But his body had already paid the price. On March 10, 1988, just 5 days after his 30th birthday, Andy Gibb died from myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle likely worsened by years of substance abuse. He was young. So young. And yet his story echoes even today, a reminder of how quickly the spotlight can burn if there's no shelter from the heat. Do you think Andy Gibb could have made a massive comeback if he'd had just a little more time? We are getting closer to our mystery pop star. Keep watching to find out who this person really is. Meanwhile, our next pop star is Kurt Cobain. Kurt was the raw, unfiltered voice of 90s youth, a reluctant icon who never wanted the spotlight but couldn't escape it. With Nirvana, he tore down the glossy pop image of the late 80s and rebuilt music with power chords, pain, and poetry. Smells Like Teen Spirit didn't just top charts, it sparked a cultural revolution. But while the world celebrated his talent, inside, Kurt was unraveling. He wrestled with depression, chronic pain, and a growing disillusionment with fame. The very system that elevated him also boxed him in. Add to that his struggle with heroin addiction, and you have a soul weighed down by demons the world couldn't see clearly, or simply chose not to. On April 5, 1994, Kurt Cobain was found dead in his Seattle home from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A suicide note rested nearby, quoting Neil Young, "It's better to burn out than to fade away." He was 27. But even now, decades later, people still ask, was it really suicide? The theories haven't stopped. Questions about timing, the note, and the circumstances still swirl. Whether conspiracy or tragedy, one thing remains clear: the loss shook the music world to its core. Do you remember where you were when you first heard Kurt was gone? Or what you felt the first time you listened to Come As You Are after his death? Selena Quintanilla. She was just getting started, rising like a comet across both Latin and mainstream pop music. She was known as the Queen of Tejano music, with which she broke barriers for Latina artists in a male-dominated industry, delivering hits like Como La Flor and Bitty Bitty Bom Bomb, with infectious energy, unmatched charisma, and a smile that lit up every stage she touched. But her journey to global superstardom was cut brutally short. In 1995, at only 23 years old, Selena was at the height of her career, touring, winning awards, and even preparing her first English-language crossover album that would have launched her into pop superstardom. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Yolanda Saldivar, the president of her fan club and someone Selena had trusted like family, was being accused of embezzlement. On March 31st, during a confrontation at a Days Inn motel in Corpus Christi, Yolanda pulled out a gun and shot Selena in the back as she tried to flee. Selena managed to run for help, leaving a trail of blood, but collapsed in the hotel lobby. She was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. The world was stunned. A vibrant life, full of promise, silenced by betrayal. Have you ever watched one of her live performances? There was a magic in the way she moved, the way she connected. Do you think the world truly understands what we lost that day? Lisa Lefty Lopez. Lisa was a wild, bold, and absolutely unforgettable star. She used her signature eye patch, rapid-fire rhymes, and fearless attitude to bring a unique edge to the group that gave us hits like Waterfalls, No Scrubs, and Creep. Lisa was never afraid to speak her truth, and that rawness made fans love her even more. But behind her public persona, she was deeply introspective, on a quest for peace, healing, and spiritual clarity. In early 2002, Lisa traveled to Honduras in search of just that. She called it a retreat, a chance to escape fame, reset her soul, and document her personal journey. She even brought a film crew along to record everything, not knowing those tapes would one day capture her final days. Then, on April 25th, while driving through La Ceiba, Lisa lost control of her rented SUV. The vehicle flipped and crashed. She was thrown from the car and died instantly. The most chilling part? The camera had been rolling just moments before the accident. She was only 30. Her death stunned the music world. TLC had more to say, more to create, but one of its most vital voices had been taken just like that. Have you ever watched her last documentary, The Last Days of Left Eye? It's eerie, emotional, and yet, it's exactly the kind of raw, honest story she would have wanted to tell. Michael Jackson. Michael wasn't just known as a pop star, he was pop himself. From Thriller to Billie Jean, from Beat It to Man in the Mirror, he redefined what music, performance, and cultural influence could look like. His dance moves were iconic. His voice, instantly recognizable. His influence? Immeasurable. But for all the spotlight and screaming fans, Michael Jackson's life behind the scenes was far more complicated. Years of intense touring, public scrutiny, and personal battles wore on him. Accusations, lawsuits, surgeries, and a life lived under a microscope took a heavy toll, not just emotionally but physically. In the years leading up to his death, Michael became increasingly reliant on prescription medications just to function, to sleep, to prepare for what he hoped would be a massive comeback tour. This is it. But he never made it to opening night. On June 25, 2009, the world stopped. Michael Jackson had gone into cardiac arrest at his home in Los Angeles. Emergency responders couldn't revive him. The cause? Acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication, powerful sedatives administered by his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, who was later found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. He was just 50. News of his death shattered the internet. Fans gathered in cities around the globe. Radio stations played his greatest hits on repeat. Some cried. Others simply couldn't believe it. Where were you when you heard that the king of pop had died? Did it feel real, or like the end of an era? Avicii. Avicii burst onto the scene with a blend of electronic beats and soulful melodies that captured millions of hearts. As a pioneer in the dance music revolution, his tracks like Levels and Wake Me Up became anthems that filled festivals and defined a generation. Yet beneath the glitter and the pulsing lights, he battled a profound inner darkness. His relentless touring schedule, the pressures of fame, and a struggle with anxiety left him isolated despite the ecstatic crowds. In the midst of soaring success, Avicii fought a personal war that few ever saw. On April 20, 2018, Avicii was found dead in Muscat, Oman. The world was stunned to learn it was suicide. But what most people don't know is that just days before his death, he recorded a series of audio journals and left behind messages that have never been fully explained. Some believe they were fragments of a farewell. Others see them as a silent cry for help the world never heard in time. What do you think? Was it a planned goodbye, or was there still hope? Avicii is the pop star we talked about at the beginning of the video. Were you correct with your guess? Did you know it was him? His death sparked a global wake-up call around mental health in the music industry. And even now, when you hear, "Hey Brother," or "The Nights," you can almost sense it. That bittersweet depth, like he was pouring out what words couldn't say. Did you ever feel it too? Finally, for this video, we have Mac Miller. Miller started as a teenage mixtape king, rapping with a laid-back charm that made him instantly relatable. But as he grew, so did his artistry. Over time, his music evolved, more introspective, more experimental, blending jazz, soul, and hip-hop in ways that felt deeply personal. Albums like Swimming showed a man navigating his emotions, searching for peace, and slowly peeling back the layers of fame. And just as he was stepping into a new creative era, everything stopped. On September 7, 2018, Mac Miller was found unresponsive in his Los Angeles home. The cause? An accidental overdose of fentanyl, alcohol, and cocaine, a deadly combination that's taken far too many lives in the music world. He was only 26. What hit hardest was the timing. Just days earlier, Mac had released new music and teased his upcoming project. Fans were excited. The industry was watching. And behind it all, he seemed ready to move forward, to grow beyond the shadows. But addiction is cruel. And fame doesn't heal wounds, it often hides them. Have you ever gone back to listen to 2009 or Good News? Doesn't it feel like he was speaking from a place most never knew he was trapped in? And there you have some of the greatest pop stars who left us far too soon in tragic occurrences. We'd be bringing you part 2 in our next video. If you could bring back one of these pop stars for just one more album or performance, who would it be? And what song would you want them to sing? Drop your answers in the comments, I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and share to others. It really helps keep this channel going. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we've got so many more stories to tell, and trust me, you don't want to miss them. Thanks for watching, see you in part 2.